2822 News Night Shift starts right now.
Well, let's begin tonight with President Trump addressing the nation to highlight the accomplishments of his administration.
His remarks touted his accomplishments during his first year in office and his future plans as president. Inflation was a key topic as he claimed car prices, gas, air travel, and hotel prices all rose under the Biden administration. The president says costs have gone down significantly during his time in office. President Trump also said that the United States is the hottest country in the world thanks to tariffs bringing manufacturing to the U.S.
Already, I've secured a record-breaking $18 trillion of investment into the United States, which means jobs, wage increases, growth, factory openings, and far greater national security. Much of this success has been accomplished by tariffs. My favorite word, tariffs, which for many decades have been used successfully.
The president also announced a bonus for more than 1 million military troops before Christmas called Warrior Dividends. His speech lasted about 20 minutes.
4 Republicans, including 2 from the Keystone State, are breaking from their party's leadership on health care. Those 4, including Congressman Rod Bresnahan, signed a Democratic-led petition that would force a House vote. The measure would extend for 3 years an enhanced pandemic-era subsidy that lowers health insurance costs for millions of Americans. Democrats needed 218 signatures to trigger the floor vote, and the support from those 4 Republicans gave them exactly the number required. In a statement sent by Bresnahan's team, the congressman said, quote, "Families in NEPA cannot afford to have the rug pulled out from underneath them. Doing nothing is not an option. And although this is not a bill I ever intended to support, it is the only option remaining."
A win tonight for a local school board member who's been bedridden for more than a year. Gerard Grega of Weatherly says that it has been an uphill battle not being able to attend meetings in person. But after the board voted tonight to suspend a policy preventing members from joining executive sessions over the phone and another limiting phone attendance for regular board meetings to twice a year, he's being allowed to maintain his position on the board. Grega has served on Weatherly School Board since 1991, barring his removal from the board in 2021 and his denial of the position in 2023, both for medical reasons. He says he was elected by the people of Weatherly School District, not the other board members, and intends to serve them despite his physical state.
I can do this kind of work without physically walking into that building, much better than many board members can. And I'm not talking about Weatherly's in particular. I'm talking about board members across the state.
Grega says he is satisfied with tonight's decision and just wants to be able to participate in the school board like the rest of his members.
Our warm weather feels great out there, but we are keeping an eye on kind of a nasty storm heading our way.
So let's get the latest with Chief Meteorologist Josh.
Sure, let's do it. We still have a little snow melt going on right now. It's kind of weird, but let me take you outside downtown Scranton. We are looking at temperatures that are actually above freezing. Boy, isn't this nice. 37. Wind is not too shabby. You see that dew point in the upper 20s. Those dew points need to come into the 30s, and when that happens, that's when we start to see a little more significant snow melt. Most of us right now are in the 30s, but you can see some colder spots like Williamsport and Selinsgrove, 20s. Same in Bloomsburg, 31 Montrose, 37 right now in downtown Wilkes-Barre. We are tracking a pretty big storm system here. We have rain in the forecast, gusty winds, and some big snow melt. Nick and Candace will break it down for you. See you in about 20 minutes.
See you then. Thanks, Josh. Pennsylvania State Police will soon have a new leader. State Police Commissioner Colonel Christopher Paris will retire January 2nd and will take a job with the FBI. Governor Shapiro announcing the leadership transition today. The current Deputy Commissioner of Operations, Lieutenant Colonel George Bivens, will be named Acting Commissioner December 31st. Colonel Paris enlisted in the Pennsylvania State Police back in 1999. Both Paris and Bivens served at Troop R Dunmore and played instrumental roles in the capture of Eric Freen, who killed one trooper and injured another at the barracks.
An Arizona man has been sentenced to 14 years in prison for fentanyl trafficking in NEPA. 26-year-old Shane Burns was one of 15 people who conspired to distribute more than 400 grams of the drug. Police say Burns was the leader and had connections with Mexican cartels. He planned to give out the pills in Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, and other locations in northeastern PA.
Someone used a gun to rob a convenience store in Schuylkill County, and now police are investigating. Police say December 15th, a man entered Sam's Place Lottery and Tobacco in Rush Township, took out a gun, and demanded money from the cashier. He was wearing a red and blue flannel jacket, gray sweatpants, and black sneakers. And he also had on black gloves and attempted to cover his face and his head. Anyone with information on those suspects' identity is asked to call police.
There's some new information after police charged a man who they say jabbed a constable with a small knife in Lackawanna County. Police say Aniello Martocchio barricaded himself inside the Adams high-rise on Adams Avenue Monday after being evicted. Police were able to de-escalate the situation and he was taken into custody. He faces several charges, including aggravated assault.
Police in Stroudsburg investigating vandalism at a popular art installation downtown. Several snowmen of Stroudsburg have been vandalized. On December 10th, Stroud Area Regional Police called out to West Main Street after several items from 4 snowmen were stolen, including props and noses from the displays there. Police are trying to track down the 3 people caught on camera vandalizing the displays.
A local nonprofit is continuing its annual holiday tradition to support families in need in our community. Friends of the Poor and the Catherine McCauley Center collected toys to help make sure children in the community have something to open this holiday. Over the past 2 days, volunteers gathered at the Byron Recreational Complex at the University of Scranton to help collect and organize toys for children before the holidays. They say the drive helps relieve some of the financial stress families face this time of year.
As a parent now, thinking about the stress and the anxiety of what am I going to get my child for the holidays, I can't find anything, I can't afford anything, thinking about just that little bit of relief we're offering parents is what means the world.
Organizers say they accept donations year-round. The toys will be distributed to families served by the organization in the coming days.
Seafood markets are now open for the holidays, but you might be paying more for your seafood this year. An article from Seafood Source says seafood prices are higher and more volatile in 2025. The reason? Tariffs on imported seafood, supply chain issues, and inflation. Frozen and fresh seafood prices both saw price increases, and frozen seafood saw a decrease in sales. Fresh seafood, though, saw an increase in sales.
The tariffs this year definitely made it a little bit challenging for us to source out the best quality product for the best possible price.
80% of our seafood is imported, and that's what happens. You know, everything is up at least between 10 to 30, and some of them even 50%.
The suppliers say crab legs are the most problematic item for them and their customers right now.
In our Instapoll question of the day, we asked, have current prices affected your holiday plans? The final voting right now has the majority saying yes, they're buying less. Come back tomorrow for another Instapoll question of the day.
You think your energy bill this winter is too high? Well, there is a way to get it lower, but not enough Pennsylvanians know how to do it. Still ahead, the 30-year-old law that broke up the utility monopolies in Pennsylvania and how it could help you cut your energy bill by a lot.
Plus, the U.S. Energy Secretary stops by 3 Mile Island as the nuclear plant gets closer to restarting a reactor. Why he stands behind the plan. As the temperatures fall, those electricity bills are on the rise. But Pennsylvania has it better than a lot of other states because customers here get to shop for their power suppliers.
But as Dennis Owens reports now, too many of us are not shopping and leaving money on the table.
But right now, people are opening up that electric bill and saying, ouch.
But John Hanger, former PUC commissioner and DEP secretary, wants you to know two things. One, you may be paying too much. Two, if not for a 1996 law he pushed, lawmakers passed, and Tom Ridge signed, you would be paying a lot more. How much?
It would have been probably anywhere around 40 to 50% higher on average across the state.
That 96 law broke up utility monopolies on energy supply and brought free market competition. Nearly 30 years later, Hanger has the charts and graphs proving the Pennsylvanians have saved tens of billions of dollars.
Competition is good. Competition makes everybody sharpen the pencil, and competition means that there are deals to be had today with a phone call right here in Pennsylvania.
But deals too many Pennsylvanians aren't grabbing. His charts also show the average price being paid right now in PA is a few cents higher than the best prices being offered. He's urging everyone to get on PAPowerswitch.com and get shopping.
You have the power of choice. You can go save money, and by doing that, you're actually forcing these companies to compete for your dollars, and that helps all of us over time to keep prices lower than they otherwise would be.
Consumer choice might seem obvious now, but Hanger reminds it took political courage and is an example of politicians doing the right thing and government working.
It was a huge leap because every single electric utility in the state, at least initially, was 100% opposed to losing their monopoly, and they had a lot of influence.
Hanger also had influence and passion, fueled during his previous job as Philadelphia's consumer advocate, when a mom and 3 children died in a fire from a tipped candle that was burning because their power had been turned off.
That drove me to understand that the size of the power bill matters. It matters hugely. It can even be life and death.
It can be confusing, but your bill is really 2 parts. In the blue, 55%, more than half your bill is what you're using in your house and what you're shopping for. But the red and the pink, that's the poles and wires. That's transmission to your house. Those prices have also gone way up. You have no control over those. In Harrisburg, I'm Dennis Owens.
The U.S. Energy Secretary stopped by 3 Mile Island today to discuss the Trump administration's energy agenda. The Nuclear One reactor is slated to open in 2027. U.S. Secretary Chris Wright discussed Constellation's plan to restart the reactor as part of a purchase agreement with Constellation Energy and Microsoft. The secretary says it will continue to create hundreds of jobs and give PA the energy it needs, but nuclear watchdogs argue the risk is not worth the reward.
You could have nuclear power operate well for a day, a week, a month, 100 years. All it takes is one weekend to alter the balance of society.
So more electricity in Pennsylvania is good for Pennsylvanians, it's good for the surrounding region, but absolutely we want trade and energy flows across state boundaries and state borders.
Secretary Wright says this will be a gigawatt of additional energy for Microsoft to power AI centers. Pennsylvania is one of the country's largest energy producers, exporting about 30% of its power to other states.
A new possible clue in the hunt for the Brown University shooter.
Still ahead, the new image investigators hope will lead to finding out who killed 2 people and injured 9.
Welcome back. Investigators in Rhode Island are still searching for the gunman who shot and killed 2 Brown University students.
The manhunt has now entered its 5th day. Police say the suspect may have been scouting the area hours before the attack. They released a picture of a second person who they believe might help in the search. The shooting happened in a part of the engineering building where there were few cameras, providing little useful video. And authorities are asking the public to review their own security or phone footage.
Nick Reiner appeared in an L.A. courtroom off camera as he faces charges of first-degree murder and the stabbing deaths of his parents. The L.A. County Medical Examiner releasing new details in the case, saying that Rob Reiner and wife Michelle died from multiple sharp force injuries. Authorities say the couple was found stabbed in their home Sunday, a day after a holiday party where witnesses reported a loud argument with their son. Nick Reiner did not enter a plea and remains held without bail. His arraignment is now set for January 7th.
Authorities in Boston are searching for a suspect in the killing of a Massachusetts Institute of Technology professor. Nuno Loureiro was shot at his apartment in Brookline Monday night. Loureiro joined MIT in 2016 and last year took charge of the school's Plasma Science and Fusion Center. Dozens of people gathered and honored the 47-year-old.
And President Trump is ramping up his efforts to force Venezuela's president out of power. The president ordered a blockade of sanctioned oil tankers using Venezuelan ports, taking aim at that nation's main source of revenue. Venezuela is accusing the president of violating international law, free trade, and the principle of free navigation. The country plans to denounce this situation at the United Nations. And we'll be right back with a check on your forecast.
All right, so what, this time tomorrow night might be quite interesting.
It will be raining at this time tomorrow night. It's going to be warm at this time tomorrow night. It's kind of warm now.
Yeah.
Downtown Wilkes-Barre for us, we do have a few clouds I see there. It is 37, that dew point in the 20s. That has to come up That has to come up into the 30s. Then we start to see more snow melt. We did have some today with temperatures above freezing. 36 at the Schuylkill County Airport. Wind, well, that's not too bad either. Nice range in these temperatures. We're in the 20s and 30s right now. 27 Williamsport, 37 Scranton, 25 Lehighton. We're going to even this out as we roll ourselves into tomorrow. So I think most of us kind of cold in the morning, seasonably cold. But look what happens here. 40s, the deeper in the day we get, and then the chance of some rain showers. I think we're going to see those rain showers move in the neighborhood of about 6, 8, 10 o'clock tomorrow evening. Then that rain is pretty heavy Thursday night into Friday morning. Don't be surprised Thursday night, Friday morning, if you hear a rumble of thunder. Rain shuts off Friday morning, 6, 8, 10 o'clock, maybe about 10, 12 hours after it gets started. On average, we're looking at about half an inch to maybe an inch of rain. Isolated higher amounts are certainly possible. Heavy rain, warm temperatures. This is going to happen. Rain, snow melt may cause some minor flooding. Concerns are going to be the roads, poor drainage areas. So that's what you have to watch out for Friday morning. If all of that is not enough for you, let's talk about the wind. Sustained Thursday night, Friday, 10 to 20 miles an hour. You're thinking, okay, that's not bad. But this is the problem. It will be gusty, 25 to potentially 50. And when the wind is that strong, that can cause isolated power outages, some minor damage, and toss around rations. Good thing is we quiet it down for the weekend, generally in the 30s, if not near 40. Your Future Alert weather forecast tonight, partly cloudy, seasonably cold. Most of us should bottom out in the 20s. Tomorrow, increasing clouds. It'll be windy. Rain comes in at night, late day highs, mid-upper 40s. We stay in the upper 40s Thursday night and Friday morning. It'll be colder later Friday with a chance of snow showers. Saturday and Sunday, quiet weather for the weekend. And then next Tuesday could end up with a few snow showers or rain showers. Or right now, the early outlook for Wednesday, Christmas Eve, some clouds around and in the 30s. Friday morning's the kind of big period to watch out for. You're trying to get out the door to go to work, get the kids to school. It's wet, it's windy, puddles all over the place. That's when you just pick up the phone and you say, you know what? I'm sick.
I'm staying in. Yeah. I'm sick of this weather.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Thank you. The Steelers take on the Lions this weekend.
A budding star for Pittsburgh in the backfield, too. Nick Zalai is here with sports. Hey, Nick.
Hey, Nick and Candace. The Steelers have won back-to-back games for the first time since September. One of the main reasons for that is Aaron Rodgers. However, as Riley Holsinger reports, he's deflecting some of the credit off to one of his teammates.
Today, caught on camera.
Hey. Get on the ground. Get on the ground.
A suspected shoplifter attempts to evade officers inside a department store. Once in custody, he attempts to break free. What? Will he get away?
Hey, get on the ground. Get on the ground, dude.
Then,
now it's a suspect that's armed and dangerous with a firearm.
A pursuit of an armed robbery suspect makes its way from Bakersfield into West LA. After the vehicle's tire goes flat, the standoff begins. And
heavy cross traffic, he goes right into it. Whoa, oh boy, that was close.
A suspected DUI driver pushes speeds over 100 miles per hour in a pursuit with CHP, the dramatic ending that comes out of nowhere.
Oh, man.
When every second counts and every decision could be life or death, watch these incidents unfold from KTLA's Eye in the Sky and the body cameras of those who risk it all. This is Caught on Camera. August 1st, 2025, a warm summer day in Los Angeles. The conditions perfect for a night out, a dose of retail therapy, or a run-in with the LAPD. It's just after 9 p.m. Uniformed officers with the LAPD Foothill Division are conducting extra patrols inside a local department store that had been the target of a theft just days earlier. The suspect in that incident, 49-year-old Gregory Pekarek, had stolen a large quantity of clothing from the Laurel Canyon Boulevard location. And on this Friday night, Pekarek is back. As officers make their rounds through the store, they recognize Pekarek in the men's clothing aisle, kneeling on the floor, his arms filled to the brim with pairs of jeans. Officers close in on the masked suspect, but Pekarek flees. In a commotion, Pekarek strikes his head on a nearby clothing rack and stumbles to the ground. That's where officers work to detain him, using physical force, firm grips, and body weight to subdue the suspect and take him into custody. The altercation is captured on officers' body-worn cameras.
Yeah, let's go to the front, dude. What's up? Stop! Hey! Get on the ground! Get on the ground! Stay on the ground! Let me get back. Oh, stop fighting! Stop fighting! Did you put up the back? Yep. On your back.
In the scuffle, the body-worn camera of one of the responding officers falls off and captures the incident from below.
On your back. Stop fighting, dude. Stop fighting. Stop fighting.
The vantage point, not much better for the other officer's camera, which is obscured during the struggle before being inadvertently shut off for 32 seconds.
Hey, turn around. Put your hands behind your back, dude.
Hey, stop! Stop! Hey! Get on the ground! Stay on the ground!
Let me get it back.
Oh, stop fighting! Stop fighting!
Keep your hands out, Roger.
Yep. I'm going to back up the cold. On your back. Put your hands on your back.
Nearly 2 minutes after they first encountered Pekarek, officers take the 49-year-old into custody. When they discover he has sustained a laceration above his right eye and requires medical attention. To the hospital, at least 3 officers stand guard as Pekarek receives medical care. But that doesn't stop Pekarek from attempting to flee yet again.
Hey, get on the ground. Get on the ground, dude. Hey, put out a backup. Hey, man, need a backup. It's in the hospital valley for 415 man.
Officers work to restrain the suspected shoplifter, ultimately using a hobble restraint device, cuffing Pekarek's ankles, limiting his movement. Pekarek is eventually cleared for booking, arrested for burglary, and booked at the Twin Towers Correctional Facility. The next day, medical staff determined Pekarek is experiencing a medical complication sustained during that use of force, and he is hospitalized for further observation. Due to that hospitalization, in accordance with department policy, the LAPD's Force Investigation Division assumes investigative responsibility for the case. That internal investigation is ongoing. Fast forward to August 5th. The LA County District Attorney's Office charges Pekarek with 3 counts of grand theft, 1 count of attempted grand theft, and 2 counts of resisting an executive officer. The investigation into and understanding of the case is still a work in progress. But for now, the law enforcement-related injury is caught on camera.
Put your hands behind your back, dude.
Hey, stop! Stop! Hey! Get on the ground! Get on the ground! Stay on the ground!
All right, again, if you are just joining us, this white SUV, reports are it was stolen out of Bakersfield. This is an armed robbery suspect, stealing, carjacking this vehicle. He is now on the 10 freeway in Santa Monica, approaching Pacific Coast Highway, which is where, the 10 freeway comes to an end here on the West Coast. If he stays on the freeway, his only option here is going to be PCH North. The CHP picked up this pursuit in Santa Clarita. And as the sergeant just mentioned a couple of minutes ago, he may be running out of fuel. We don't know how much gas was in this vehicle, which does have a pretty large gas tank, but he did have to deal with a grapevine. He's also been driving at a high rate of speed when he has the opportunity, so he may have burned a lot of fuel off. So as law enforcement remains in pursuit, and that pursuit that's actually slowed down a bit here because of the heavy traffic, it's just kind of a situation we just don't know how this is going to end at this point.
Remember years ago, I feel like a suspect stopped and put gas in his vehicle and then kept going. Do you remember that?
Yeah, that was one of those where where law enforcement had backed off.
Yeah.
They had pulled back, and he
filled up and then kept going.
Yeah, didn't fill it up completely, but he was there for a good maybe 40 seconds, enough to get a few gallons of gas. And here we see now he's kind of blocked in behind a truck, and you can see the CHP is right behind him there.
Rich, is it getting more and more crowded ahead of him?
Yeah, kind of. It's stop and go for sure. This section right here was a little busy. You saw that box truck. He was having a hard time getting around. But overall, I think he can navigate his way through the traffic just based on what I am seeing. And while I was away there for a moment, we were hearing some additional scanner traffic, and this is not confirmed. However, what we heard was that they believe that this person might be in possession of an assault, style rifle, or a long rifle. So if that's what they think it might be, then now it's a suspect that's armed and dangerous with a firearm. So good point by the gentleman we were just speaking with, where they would not want to try a pit maneuver, because that would spin him around, and then of course you could have shots that are being exchanged through the windshield or out the side window there. So at this point, I'm sure they're going to be more cautious. Once this eventually comes to a stop, how much fuel he has on is hard to determine, but it is a large SUV, as you mentioned. And look at that driver's tire.
Yeah, he's got a flat tire.
That looks like it's running out of air.
Yep.
So he, one way or another, is going to be disabled here, whether it's gas or that tire at some point. It's only going to last so long then he's down on the rim, and he's going to have a harder time controlling what is, is not the easiest to maneuver at these high speeds, weaving through traffic. And that shoulder is not going to be the best traction for him as he's on that asphalt. So we'll wait and see here. But still on the 10 freeway, and we're at Robertson National, westbound 10, Washington National. We still got a couple miles to go before he makes his way to the 405 freeway. And at that point, he can go south towards LAX, he can go north up to the Sepulveda Pass, or he can continue on that 10 freeway. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe there's still a closure in place up there at Lincoln, and that would make things quite interesting if he decides to go through that. I cannot see that far ahead, but it is possible that the freeway is still shut down there as we make our way into Santa Monica. But he does have that option of either just exiting the freeway entirely or picking up the 405 freeway, and we're going to find that out here in the next few minutes. But running on a flat tire, driver's side. Can't see the passenger side at this point. We're not going to compromise our position. It looks like we're in a pretty good spot here, keeping up with this pursuit. CHP still directly behind, several units of the CHP directly behind, and the plane, last I checked, was overhead circling around this. Traffic looking up ahead actually does improve unless he gets on that 405 freeway southbound. Southbound 405, not looking too good. So we'll see what he decides to do. But yeah, look, you see that van there. Saw him traveling up rather quickly and decided to move over. Whether or not people can actually make out the CHP behind this SUV, in their rear mirror is kind of difficult to say. But okay, there you go. There's the rubber.
Wow.
So now the tire is starting to come to pieces here. He's pulling over to the right shoulder, and we'll see if, okay, so we are going to be very careful here. He's reaching over onto the passenger side. Is he going to open the door? No, he's going to reach over. Okay, so I'm going to widen out here. This door could open at any point. Guns drawn on the white SUV. This man believed to be armed, so we're going to keep a safe shot here and make sure we don't show anything that is sensitive here or unsuitable. And guns drawn, facing westbound traffic, now stopped, but not too far away here on the westbound side of the 10 past Robertson National off-ramp. And I see it looked like he may have his hands out the window there. We'll see. Okay, doors opening here. Let's see if he's willing to comply with officers or if he's got something in his hand. It's really difficult to say, and I apologize that I can't better describe that for you at this wider angle, but it's just better that we play it safe here. But it looks like he is complying at this point. I'm hearing on the radio scanners that he is complying, so hands up, no sign of a firearm in his hand, backing his way up towards the CHP. And I believe this is going to come to an end. Of course, they will double check, make sure that no one else is in the SUV. That SUV was believed to be stolen and was wanted in connection of an armed robbery out of Bakersfield before CHP locating the vehicle coming down the Grapevine in the Santa Clarita area. He refused to stop and what actually started picking up speeds, was driving at 100 plus miles an hour coming down the Grapevine and into the San Fernando Valley. Then we came down into the downtown area, picked up to 10, and that's where we are now here on the westbound side. And they are putting the cuffs on him. So good news, he is now in custody. CHP now approaching the SUV here. Gun still trained on the car. Could never be too cautious here. And they're going to look inside. We should see their hands being brought up, given that code 4 here in just a moment. And they're trying to make their way. Maybe the door's locked. So he's going to go around the driver's side here, see if they can get inside, and let's see if they locate any sort of firearm or that rifle possibly inside the SUV. The robbery that took place possibly in Bakersfield, they have not given us information as far as what type of robbery that was, but we did hear that he was wanted out of Bakersfield. Okay, so there you go, putting up the hand signal, letting them know it's everything's clear in the vehicle. He's the suspect, the driver, still being patted down here, and putting whatever belongings he may have right there on the trunk. So, considering how dangerous this guy was driving and really willing to go through other vehicles to keep going, this came to a peaceful conclusion here, and he's going to be off to jail. The westbound 10 freeway is going to remain closed here at least temporarily, or while they take this guy into custody. And of course, they will likely need to tow that SUV at some point, bring in a tow truck. So expect some delays here on the westbound side of the 10, at least for a short period of time. I'll send it back to you.
All right, a textbook ending to another pursuit here in Southern California. Again, this started with that stolen SUV, we believe, in Bakersfield. The suspect, the driver, was considered armed and dangerous, and he spent a lot of time riding on the shoulder. That's probably where he ran over something that ended up flattening that front tire on the driver's side and forced him to pull over. And even with all of his antics, starting in Bakersfield, hitting a couple of vehicles, when it came time to give up, he gave up pretty quick.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have more news on the other side.
This is Gil Davis in Sky 5. We are over a high-speed pursuit, California Highway Patrol, in pursuit of this red vehicle, now getting on the freeway. This is the 101 freeway headed eastbound or southbound. You can see the red vehicle here getting on the freeway. Looks like it's just the driver, at least in the front portion of the vehicle.
Traffic surprisingly light on the 101 freeway as multiple California Highway Patrol units make chase on this July 21st.
This pursuit started about 20 minutes ago. Wanted for suspected DUI driving. The vehicle was slow to yield to the officers when they tried to pull it over, but then started driving radically on surface streets, hitting speeds of about 60, even 70 miles an hour. Here we are. Let me come in tight and show you the speed right now that we're clocking them at, 114 miles an hour on the 101 freeway.
They're pursuing a suspected DUI driver who is pushing that red car to the limit, dangerously weaving in and out of traffic. at speeds in excess of 100 miles per hour. As the driver approaches the exit at Balboa, does CHP have a chance to bring this chase to an end?
California Highway Patrol is highly skilled at pitting, doing the pit maneuver. He's going to take the exit here, and he's got a long exit, but we might have traffic up ahead. He's hard on the brakes. There's one car. They might try a pit maneuver right here. Let's see. They're going to get real aggressive with this guy. Oh, nope, not able to get that pursuit or that pit maneuver in place.
Pit opportunity missed. The Caravan makes their way down an empty Balboa Boulevard on their way towards a much more crowded Ventura Boulevard.
Cross traffic, heavy cross traffic. He goes right into it. Whoa, a hard, sharp right turn there. Fortunately, there was a little window there that driver was able to get through. Boy, that was close.
Westbound on Ventura, the suspected DUI driver is exceeding 70 miles per hour as he maneuvers around unsuspecting commuters and onto the wrong side of the road. At Louise, he turns right, cutting in front of traffic and picking up speeds 80 miles per hour, 90 miles per hour, before slamming on the brakes as he makes a swinging left turn at an unexpected T intersection. CHP keeping up as the driver appears to be desperately looking for a way back to the freeway. Encino Avenue, Bullock Street, White Oak Avenue, Victory Boulevard. Where to go?
That California Highway Patrol officer there looking for the best opportunity to do a pit. We might try it right here. Let's see. 61 miles an hour. He almost hit that car. He's losing control. Oh, he gained control, but now we might see the pit again. Wow, it was like he didn't see that car till the last second.
The suspect blazes through intersections on Victory at speeds of nearly 100 miles per hour. He's hard on the brakes as he navigates cross traffic, driving down the double yellows, but CHP is close behind, refusing to give up. Then it's back on the freeway.
This is going to be 405 southbound. Southbound 405 approaching the 101. We'll see if he jumps on that 101 or stays on the 405.
The red vehicle passes through cars, but its handling appears shaky as that suspected DUI driver may be losing control.
Again, this started as a traffic stop. The car was slow to yield, according to the CHP. Was driving at a really slow rate of speed. They lit him up with the lights and sirens, and he took off on him on surface streets. Here we are past the 101 freeway. He's committed to the southbound 405 freeway. Traffic looks light to medium. We'll see how it is on the other side of the hill if he makes it that far. And he's exiting. Nope, we're not going to make it. He's going to get off here, Mike. Hard on the brakes. He's got a hard turn here. Oh, no, he's going to go right into the... Oh, man, right into that wall. He didn't know that off-ramp because he just had too much speed. He went right across the intersection there, directly into that wall. Guns drawn here. The driver might be knocked out. Now the CHP is going to have to rescue him out of that vehicle. He just took that off-ramp too fast, had nowhere to go. It was a T intersection, and didn't even try. It didn't even look like he was trying to stop at that point. He just went right into that wall.
CHP officers quickly pull the motorist from the car. The driver appears dazed, but is conscious. A lucky sight after that dramatic crash at Sherman Oaks Boulevard and Flume Walk. A crash that is caught on camera.
Oh, no, he's going to go right into the... Oh, man, right into that wall.
Future Alert weather isn't just your forecast, it's your ultimate advantage. Accurate and dependable, you get what you need to plan your day with confidence.
Future Alert weather only on 2822 and 2822news.com.
When the sun goes down, you need that home field advantage.
When officials see my name on a caller ID, they answer. Yeah, Chief, can you update the situation?
Watch the team with the home field advantage.
Only on WBRE and WYOU. We start tonight with some breaking news.
It's weather designed for the future. Accurate and dependable. Sunrise to sunset. You get what you need to plan your day with confidence.
Future Alert Weather, only on 2822 and 2822news.com.
Future Alert Weather isn't just your forecast, it's your ultimate advantage. Accurate and dependable. You get what you need to plan your day with confidence.
Future Alert Weather, only on 2822 and 2822news.com.
So the last words I get to hear my son say is clear to land runway 33.
Welcome everyone to Inside the Cockpit. I'm your host, May K. Beeler here at Queen City News Plus. Thanks for joining us. Now, those of you who know me know that I'm a pilot of over 40 years and counting. Aviation is my passion. I'm also an FAA safety team member representative. So safety has been very important to me over the years. And today we have a very special guest who is very interested in being a safety advocate for very personal reasons. So he is a pilot expert, a commercial jet pilot, Army veteran, and former Black Hawk pilot, and a speaker, Tim Lilly. Now, beyond his professional experience, Tim is the father of First Officer Sam Lilly, who tragically lost his life in the DCA mid-air collision in January of 2025. So Tim says that Sam's passing has reinforced his commitment to aviation safety and advocacy and making sure the necessary changes are made. So an accident like that will never happen again. And we welcome in Tim Lilly. Tim, thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me. It's really a pleasure to be doing media with another pilot. Normally, the person on the other end is trying to figure out a lot of these terms, and you're going to understand a lot more than most of the media will.
Absolutely. And we'll try to put them in layman's terms too. So first of all, how are you doing?
You know, after it's been almost 7 months now, and it's been a hard road, but we're getting there. And, you know, I just can't explain what it's like to lose a child, even an adult child, in an accident like this. But, you know, our hope is that we can get something good out of this.
How do you begin? How does one even cope with something like this? How are you coping?
Well, the company that I work for supported me. You know, they flew my family into DC on a private jet. They sent a care team for us. And so those things helped a lot, but it doesn't bring your child back. Now, here on Earth, I helped Sam learn to fly. But in the next life, he's going to show me how it's done up there. So that kind of gives me hope for the future. I love this life, but this thing of death is gone for me because I know that I'm going to fly with Sam again someday.
Absolutely. So how do you make sense of this accident? There were so many pieces to the puzzle, and there are so many fingers that can be pointed. How do you make sense out of this?
So sure, as you know, I flew those exact routes in the 90s, hundreds of times, 2 or 3 times a week for 4 years straight. So I know those routes intimately, and I know pretty much the things that can go wrong and did go wrong. And I knew those right away. And so when I'll tell you, I was sitting in an NTSB brief the day after the accident. I'm in a room with about 200 new orphans and widows and people who lost their children. And the first person to get up and brief was the fire chief. And he's going to tell everybody how the recovery is going. And he says, you know, it's a gruesome event. And there was body parts spread all over the ice. And, you know, half the people in there lost their mind, right? They ran out. Many did. And as we got into the brief, I realized I might be the only person in that room who knew what Class B airspace was and, you know, who had ever flown a Black Hawk helicopter. And so I didn't want to, but I felt a heavy moral obligation to be kind of the technical expert representing the families in this situation. And so from there, just God put some people in our life that were able to make some connections for us. We started talking to legislators We talked to Secretary Duffy just a few days after the accident. And Secretary Duffy, he doesn't get everything right, but this he did get right. And we sat down with him, and I asked him if he would permanently close Route 4 whenever runway 33 was in use, and if he would commit to modernizing the air traffic control system, and if he would commit to fully manning ATC towers, and if they would work on taking all this data and cross-referencing it and trying to find out where the next accident was going to happen and stop it before it happened. The very next day, he was on the news talking about these same things that we talked about. So I'm going to give him props. He's already been able to get $12.5 billion, and that's a good start to modernize ATC infrastructure. I think we're going to need about $19 billion more, but we're headed down that road. And he did us one better than closing Route 4 when runway 33 was in use. He just went ahead and closed it altogether. For those that don't know, Route 4 is a route that runs along the Potomac River that helicopters could fly at or below 200 feet. But when I flew those routes, we understood you didn't fly that route if somebody was on approach to Tree 3. Somewhere in the culture of the Army, that institutional knowledge was lost. And so it's something we're working on as well.
You know, I know Jennifer Homendy, the chair of the NTSB, you have attended some of those hearings. New information keeps coming out. Some of the early reports indicated that the Black Hawk helicopter was at the wrong altitude, was lower than they should have been. They were high. Yeah, right. And from your understanding, Tim, the CRJ that your son was first officer on was where it was supposed to be. It was cleared to land on short approach for runway 33. And both the CRJ and the helicopter were communicating with ATC according to reports. And the Black Hawk did say that they had a visual. They had their eyes on the CRJ, and they confirmed that twice, that they had visual separation, which now means it is their responsibility, not ATC's, to keep their safe distance from the CRJ. But do you think they had their eyes on the wrong aircraft?
Well, 100% visual separation played a giant part in this. So if I've been a professional pilot for about 40 years, about as long as you have. And I, for one, even though I was a helicopter pilot for 37 years, I never once in my life requested visual separation. And I never heard of that happening before this accident. Even when I flew those routes, we never requested visual separation. We waited for the air traffic controller to assign visual separation to us after we had positively identified that aircraft. But through all of the testimony and everything in the docket, I can see that unit had routinely requested visual separation. And some of the pilots in that unit even admitted to requesting visual separation when they didn't have aircraft in sight.
Oh my gosh.
Which is, I mean, just as crazy to think about, right? So if you look in the Airman's Information Manual in Chapter 4, it says that if a pilot is going to accept visual separation, they have to maintain a constant visual surveillance of the other aircraft and not pass that aircraft until it's no longer a factor. So the air traffic controller expects you, if you lose sight of the aircraft, to call and say, hey, I've lost sight. And then they're going to give you a new heading, or they're going to hold you, or they're going to do something. When I flew those routes, we always held at Haines Point if somebody was on approach to Tree 3. And I would say that even if the air traffic controller didn't tell me to hold at Haines Point, I would have known to do that, because there's not enough room at 200 feet between an aircraft on the glide path to land at Tree 3 and you're flying.
So this is a training issue. They weren't taught properly, or is it just a poor culture?
They weren't taught properly. The senior instructor pilot who gave a lot of the testimony at the NTSB briefing clearly misunderstood both visual separation and the routes. And he was the guy that set the standard in that unit. So that was really tough to hear. Now, on the good side, early in September, I'm going to be giving a class to the instructor pilots and the safety officers in that unit. And we're going to talk about their SMS system, that safety management system. One of the things I saw on the docket was almost every pilot in that unit understood how to make a safety report none of the pilots in that unit had ever made a safety report. And so if you have a safety management system that people aren't making reports, then that system's broke.
Exactly.
And so if people were having near misses, nobody ever, thought to do something different.
Right, right. Oh, and what about the altitude readout? Do you think the altimeter, I think according to reports, there was some confusion in the helicopter. Maybe they didn't have the right barometric pressure, the right setting. Maybe the altimeter was off. We know altimeters can be off as much as 75 feet. Right? They can be, and it was just such a tiny, narrow vertical separation. So for folks watching this that don't understand about the altimeter and the readout, the ADSB, that is required equipment in that CIFRA or Bravo airspace. Well,
so the helicopter didn't have their ADSB out transmitting, and they did that
so
on
let people know,
purpose.
right? This is the most accurate readout of their position and their altitude, and it was turned off.
It was turned off. That whole unit had been not using ADSB out for some time, and they were using an exemption that said the Army didn't have to use it in if it was a matter of national security. And so they decided that training flight was a matter of national security, which is, just ridiculous, right?
In the busiest airspace in the country, really.
In the most complicated airspace in the entire country. So crazy to think that that's the way that they did things. But we've got a lot of that changed already. So now in order for them to fly without ADSB off, for the 12th anyway, they have to have permission from their colonel, so the brigade commander.
What do you know that maybe the flying public is not sure about? It sounds like you are indeed in a position where your voice is heard and you can make a difference.
It's been heard quite a bit, and the Army did shut me down for 6 months, but they finally are listening to me now. Route 4 is definitely closed. The only time that Route 4 can be used is if there's an active need for it for like law enforcement. But whenever that happens, runway 33 will be shut down. So that's really good news. The Army's made some changes, and we've got a long way to go with the Army and their changes. But the other thing is there's some legislation that's in the works. We're working on getting the Democrats and the Republicans to come together on a combined Rotor Act safety legislation. And if that passes, it's really going to close a lot of loopholes as far as ADSB out goes, and possibly even mandate ADSB in, which we've been looking for many years. So that'll be great.
What's with all of these near misses, like over the past decade, 15,000, that the FAA allegedly never acted on? You know, we tend to have this tombstone mentality that regulations are written in blood. So something horrific like this accident that could have been prevented has to happen before the changes are made. Is this what's going on? Tombstone mentality?
This accident was years in the making, right? And it's like you said, there was over 15,000 near proximity events. Even more, there was 85 like real near misses. Near misses enough where, you know, evasive action had to happen, kind of thing. 200 feet of vertical separation. And that's just unacceptable. If you have that kind of data, you know you have to make a change. So one of the things we asked for early on was a system that actually, all that, I don't know if you're familiar with the SIAS, but it's a database full of all the information that the aircraft are downloading every day that they fly in and out of there. And so all that data was available to be accessed, but nobody was analyzing it to see what was going on. And so that's one of the things that we're now doing is we're analyzing data a lot more. And the changes have been made already. I know you probably saw that they put out some training for aircraft in the Charleston area, Charleston, South Carolina, about mid-airs. And then also they made some changes in Las Vegas about the way helicopters fly in and out of there.
Tim, you attended the hearings a couple of weeks ago. The NTSB, Jennifer Homendy, of course, being the chair. She had a comment that she made after the hearings. Let's take a listen.
It's so bureaucratic that nobody can take what is clearly a safety issue and get it up through the offices that should be making the decision to ensure safety in the airspace, or somebody's ignoring them.
Yeah, Tim, what do you think about that? What's your reaction to that?
She's 100% correct. With listening to the testimony, it was painful to listen to. At one point, we heard that the air traffic controllers had asked for changes to the helicopter route chart and have some warnings on there about the choke points. But because they use the wrong terminology, they call them hotspots. And as we know, hotspots are normally found on the airport
on the ground, right?
You know,
airport.
They were just rejected without sitting back and go, "Hey, let's just change this name. Let's put this on here properly." This might have saved 67 lives. We don't know for sure, but another thing that happened was that no air traffic controller went for alcohol testing. And as an aviator, you know, if you're involved in an incident, that drug and alcohol testing is one of the things you do as soon as everybody who can be saved is saved, right?
Yeah.
Then you secure the accident site and then you go for drug and alcohol testing.
Yes.
No air traffic controller had alcohol testing. They did drug testing about almost 24 hours later.
That's unacceptable.
Right.
Unacceptable.
And they blamed it on bureaucracy. Apparently the person who was supposed to send them, you know, didn't go through the proper process.
Do you think that the ATC shortage played a role? I know we know accidents are a chain, all sorts of things that contribute to it. And according to reports, there was one controller working two jobs, both the airplanes and the helicopters. Let me clarify something. The CRJ and the Black Hawk, were they both talking on the same frequency to the tower?
They were not. So the helicopter was on the helicopter only frequency, and the CRJ was on the regular tower frequency. Okay, so we had one controller working both frequencies, so they could both hear what was being said to the other one, but they couldn't hear. Say the CRJ couldn't hear what the Black Hawk said, and the Black Hawk couldn't hear what the CRJ said.
And then there were reports too that maybe in the Black Hawk somebody was keying the mic, pressing the mic, and maybe it was blocked. They didn't hear.
So that is 100% accurate.
Okay.
The person on the pilot monitoring on the helicopter blocked air traffic control twice because And my theory is he was just in a real hurry to answer back because the air traffic control there is very, very busy.
Yeah.
And if you wait too long, you're not going to get your turn to talk.
Yeah.
And so I think what happened was he wanted to talk and get his message through so fast that he stepped on the air traffic controller before the air traffic control was done. So it's quite obvious he either didn't understand that the aircraft was circling to 33, or he didn't understand where that aircraft would be if it was circling to 33. In the testimony we heard from the senior instructor pilot that used to be at that unit that he didn't understand aircraft circled to 33.
Let's talk about the Black Hawk helicopter. So this was an annual required training mission. Is that
Yep.
correct? And were they wearing night goggles? Do we
They
know?
were wearing night vision goggles.
They were wearing them. And so doesn't that kind of limit your vision this way anyway?
Yes. So, right. So there's a lot of limitations with night vision goggles, especially when it comes to doing visual separation. So night vision goggles limit your view to 40 degrees.
Wow.
And then, of course, bright lights like city lights
Yeah.
really affect your ability to see
Oh, yeah.
anything. So if you're looking through night vision goggles, you can't tell the difference between a Cessna 172 and a 747. All you're going to see is a light in the
Right.
distance. And so if you look from Memorial Ridge, where they called traffic in sight, all you're going to see is a line of lights lined up for runway 1. You don't know which one's over Wilson Bridge. You don't know which one's on short final, which one is, 10 miles away. And so they called it for visual separation 6.5 miles away. They had absolutely no chance of being able to maintain visual separation with that aircraft all the way until they passed the airport. And so I think there was a cultural problem where that whole unit was just pre-programmed to automatically request visual separation. And that's what happened. And of course, when they were told again, just moments before impact, they were told again about the CRJ, and they called traffic and site request visual separation without even taking a minute to look around and see that aircraft. In the cockpit voice recorder, we don't see any discussion about the traffic at all. And so that tells me that those two pilots were not discussing traffic.
So, Tim, let me ask you, and I'll explain this for our non-pilot viewers. Were they respecting sterile cockpit? So sterile cockpit is when you're below 10,000 feet, critical phase of flight, takeoff or landing. All the conversation has to be related to the flight. We can't talk about we're going to go to Cracker Barrel for dinner. We're talking about the flight. Were you able to listen to the cockpit voice recorder? Was there any unnecessary conversation that you know of?
I didn't get to listen to either cockpit voice recorder. Okay. So the last words I get to hear my son say is clear to land runway 33. But I was able to read the transcripts from both cockpit voice recorders. And I'm also proud to say that I was pulled aside by more than one person that heard the cockpit voice recorder of the CRJ that told me Sam was a professional throughout that flight from takeoff to landing. So that made me really proud. But the transcripts that I read from the U.S. Army helicopter, they were respecting at least on the routes, they were respecting all the protocols. As far as sterile cockpit is concerned, I will tell you that one of the pilots in there was taking a check ride and, was having a lot of difficulties. And so what we call that is that person had become behind the aircraft.
Right.
So the aircraft was flying down Route 4, and their mind was still probably back at Cabin John. Yeah. So that really was part of the incident because the instructor pilot understood that they weren't exactly in the right place and they weren't exactly in the right altitude, and he had instructed her to come to to turn left in 6 seconds before impact, and yet no turn was made.
And we know. It's just so upsetting. We know the instructor pilot's responsible.
The instructor pilot is ultimately responsible. Yeah. He's the PIC. So
that's right.
From everything I've read about him and what my understanding about him, he was a really good pilot. And, even good pilots. It's only by the grace of God that I haven't caused anybody to be killed in the, 12,000 hours that I've flown airplanes and helicopters. I've made a lot of mistakes.
Of course. Of course.
But this was a lot of mistakes that all lined up, and they all lined up in a terrible, tragic way.
What is the biggest lesson? Not that you need to learn a lesson, but what is the biggest lesson to come out of this?
I think the lesson is to not become complacent. So one of the things I learned early on about the unit, the 12th, is that they considered flying those routes low risk because they've done it so many times. And so they had done it so many times, but they didn't realize they were doing it wrong so many times. And so they become complacent, and they didn't really take the time to learn the proper way to fly. And so, like, for instance, in the hearings, they spent half a day talking about altimeter error. Yeah. But you and I know that about day 10 of flight school, we learned about altimeter error, and we knew that altimeter just wasn't going to be accurate under all circumstances.
Right.
Barometric altimeter.
Right.
Yet the radar altimeter said 278 feet, pretty much straight and level right until impact. And the other thing is, we have to make flying our priority when we're in the cockpit. Whatever was distracting them, I do not know, but nobody in that Black Hawk cockpit even flinched or said anything before impact. So they didn't know they were going to hit that airplane until they hit that airplane. Jonathan, and who was the captain of the CRJ, and Sam, who was the first officer. Both had reactions 1 second before impact. And as you know, when you have a CRJ on short final at VREF +5, 1 second's not enough time to make that aircraft turn. And so they began a go around. They made a near full scale deflection. I'm not sure if they moved the thrust levers or not. I haven't found any evidence one way or the other there, but they did make a near full scale deflection, but it was too late. You can't turn a CRJ that fast that's in the landing configuration.
So do you think the pilots in the helicopter, that their readout on their altimeter was wrong and they thought they were at the right altitude? Or do you think they were
I believe there's a good chance that they thought they were at 200 feet MSL.
Yeah.
But these routes are not for beginners. And so you have to go beyond. They talked a lot about what the air training manual standard, which is plus or minus 100 feet in the hearings, but the ATM standards don't apply on these routes.
Right. Well, they should.
The 200, well, what I'm saying is that's not strict enough.
Exactly. Exactly.
You cannot go above 200 feet on that route. And they shouldn't even been on that portion of the route at all during approaches to 3-3. But if you were going to be on that, the only chance you have to survive it is to be exactly where you're supposed to be. And that's right on the east bank of the river, which they were they were about a third of the way toward the middle. And then also to be at or below 200. I think both of the pilots in that aircraft were good, honorable people serving their country.
Absolutely.
They both had tremendously bad last few minutes of their life.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell us about Sam, and what would Sam want us to know?
Well, Sam, he, for instance, he went to college as a marketing major. And so aviation, I became big into aviation, as a teenager. Sam came a little bit later. So he was a marketing major. And when he graduated, he worked in marketing for about a month. And he called me and said, Dad, marketing is not for me. And I said, okay, you knucklehead, we should have had this conversation 4 years ago. But he said, I want to be a pilot like you. And so, after I tried to talk him into tell him all the things that could go wrong with that plan, he started doing his introductory flights. And once he did that, he pursued it vigorously. And in just a few short years, even with COVID slowing him down, he was able to get to the cockpit of a CRJ, which is amazing. Earlier years back, that's just not heard of. But his timing was on, and he just pursued it vigorously. And the next thing you know, he was flying a CRJ, and he was engaged to be married. We really love Lydia, who we now consider our daughter-in-law. But I was super excited to see where that family was going to go. That just didn't happen, but it's a shame. It's a real shame that his life got cut short. And we miss him every day. I'm still not quite to the point where I can sleep through the night. But I think we're getting there. But I'll tell you, Sam would be proud that we have pursued aviation safety in his name, because, his death is not for just for nothing.
We're going to wrap this up. Last words, how do you move forward from this? And closing it out, what would Sam want us to know?
Well, Sam wants us to know, he wants the flying public to know that flying on airlines and PSA is still one of the very safest ways to travel. But we're going to make it even safer. And how we're going to move forward is we're going to be there to help get that last $19 billion. And we're going to be there to help pass the Rotor Safety Act. And we're going to be there working with the Army to change some of the cultural issues that they have. And we're going to try to get the proficiency level of Army pilots back to where it was when I was flying. I think part of the problem for them is that they're just not getting the assets to fly regularly. And we want to see that changed.
Well, Tim Lilly, we are so grateful for your time, and we are so sorry, but there's no question you are where you are supposed to be.
I appreciate that. And thank you for having me. Give me a chance to tell the story.
Good luck. Keep at it.
Thank
you so much. And thank you all for joining us for this edition of Inside the Cockpit. I'm your host, May K. Beeler with Queen City News Plus. We'll see you next time.
Brenna, first take me through how you balance it all, being an Olympic athlete as well as a mom of 2 girls now.
I don't balance it. It's definitely a juggling act. Sometimes the balls, I'm catching them and things are great, and sometimes I'm not. I've had to look at my life through seasons. In some seasons, they're longer than others. Sometimes they're like, this is a week. I have a week, and I'm going to prioritize this. And my priorities are always shifting. I would say I try to make my family the top priority as often as I can, but sometimes my sport and my job does come first. I have to compete, I have to work essentially, and I've learned to accept that and to just embrace it, yeah.
Are you taking on a bigger role now, being a female athlete, knowing that you have 2 young girls looking up to you at home?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely do not take it lightly that they are watching everything that I do. I really try to model the behavior that I would lecture them on. Like if I would give them a lecture about their behavior, I need to make sure that I am living that. And it's hard, but it's kind of the best part for me of parenting, that it forces me to grow and to change and to be everything they deserve.
Will your girls have an opportunity to see you in Italy?
Yes, my girls will both be in Italy, which I'm so excited about. I can't wait to, the highlight of the entire event, I think, will be crossing the finish line and just giving them the biggest hug.
Have you had the opportunity to compete at the Olympic stage in front of any of them before?
My oldest daughter, Lila, was at my first games in 2018. She was a little younger than 2, so she doesn't remember it. I mean, I remember it. But she's very excited.
Does she know my mom is a gold medalist?
She does. She's very proud of me, which I'm eating that up because one day I know that I will not be as cool as I am now.
You have to enjoy it now, these years.
Exactly.
What motivates you when you're about to compete?
My children, they motivate me. Being, I say that my priority in that moment is competing, but really my priority in that moment is still modeling great behavior for them and to show them what following your dreams looks like, for what being brave looks like, for what having a strong mental health and mindset looks like. And so while my action is snowboarding in that moment, I'm still doing everything for them.
You mentioned modeling to your girls. We have to talk about you being the first Paralympic athlete to be on the cover of Sports Illustrated Swim. What did that mean to you?
Oh my goodness, everything, because originally I wasn't going to do it. I was scared. I was like, absolutely no way. And then I thought back to the 14-year-old version of myself who, when I lost my leg, I immediately was like, I'm unworthy, I'm unlovable, I'm ugly, I'm all the negative things that I think most women have at some point said about themselves. And I was like, okay, well, what made that difference when I went through cancer? Oh, I never saw anyone in the media that looked like me and that was celebrated in a way of being beautiful and being sexy and being worthy of anything more than, what I was telling myself in that moment. So I did it. And at the very least, I healed that 14-year-old version of myself that didn't feel beautiful enough.
What does it mean to you that you get to represent not only your country, but your family, your community, and so many other communities as well?
Yeah, I think for me it's a reminder that I didn't get here alone, and I never will. It takes a village, and even if the village for me is just a motivation to keep going and to keep pushing and to keep representing, that's enough.
Do you have any new personal goals that you hope to accomplish when you're in Italy?
Yeah, I think it would be really cool to win a gold medal. Obviously, that's outside of my control, but I'm currently tied for the most golds in Paralympic snowboarding history, so it would be really cool to break that. But also, it's outside of my control, so we'll see what happens.
Last one from me. How do you and your Paralympic snowboarding team motivate one another?
We each push each other to be the best athletes, but also the best versions of ourselves. We have strong value of communication and problem solving and just interpersonal relationships. So they just help us not only be the best that we can be, but just good humans.
Mike, tell me a little bit about your BioDapt company and how you thought to create it.
Well, I mean, it was I was kind of forced to figure out what I was going to do. So I got two passions in my life. One is being a professional athlete, and the other is the creative side of me. I love to design and build things in my workshop, and I love mechanical things. And when I was injured racing pro snowcross back in 2008, which ultimately led to my amputation above the knee on the left side, I started researching prosthetic equipment and realized there just wasn't many options for action sports type activities, and I didn't want to give up my motocross and snowmobiles. So I went to the drawing board, went full mad scientist. I'm like, I know I can fix this problem on my own, and so I started